in a dimly lit alleyway, damp from the afternoon rain. The protagonist, Sung-soo, presses his back against a wall, breath heavy. The distant sound of voices, mocking, demanding, echoes behind him. 3 silhouettes block the alley's entrance, their presence suffocating. Sung-soo had learned long ago that silence was his greatest shield. Words only invited trouble. The world never stopped to hear his complaints, so he stopped giving them. Xuan, the ringleader, flips a coin between his fingers, smirking. You know the rules, Sue. You pay, you pass. Otherwise, well, accidents happen. Sung-soo doesn't respond. He keeps his head low and fists tight before abruptly pivoting and dashing into the narrowest gaps between buildings. Xuan's laughter follows him, but they don't give chase. He's not worth the effort today. He sprints down the alley, past crumbling walls and rusted fire escapes, cutting through back streets toward the industrial district, where he works odd jobs for just enough money to scrape by. Today is no different. Just another day of labor, another day of survival. Hours later, the sun has set. Sung-soo wipes sweat from his forehead, slinging his worn-out bag over his shoulder as he exits the restaurant. His clothing smells of oil and garlic, his fingers raw from lifting and scrubbing. He walks alone, exhausted, dreading the long path home. His path takes him past an old alley, where a pile of discarded junk catches his eye. Among broken crates and rusting appliances, something stands out. A wooden box, half buried beneath old newspapers and a pile of discarded bricks. He kneels, shifting debris aside. Inside, there's an assortment of odd trinkets, ornate glass bottles, a tarnished silver dagger, a compass that twitches without direction. But one item draws him in, a massive glass jar filled with thick, golden liquid. It smelled intoxicating, like warmth and sunlight trapped in a bottle. The label was gone, its origin unknown, yet something deep inside him whispered that this was important. His stomach growls. He hadn't eaten since morning. His fingers tighten around the jar before he stuffs it into his bag, his pulse quickening. He doesn't linger. This place, it feels wrong, like someone or something is watching. He bolts toward his dormitory, his bag of strange finds thudding against his back. The city streets blur as he moves. He takes a shortcut through an empty road, his heart hammering. Suddenly, a sharp crack. His foot skids over broken glass scattered across the pavement. He stumbles, momentum carrying him forward, slamming him into a rusted fence with a dull clang. A sharp sting flares in his forearm. He hisses, pulling back to see a thin gash just below his elbow, fresh blood trickling down his skin. Nothing deep, but annoying. He grits his teeth and keeps moving. Finally, his dormitory. A cramped room in an aging building. He locks the door behind him, tossing his bag onto the small table, exhaling sharply as he examines his arm. The cut still bleeds slightly, the pain now dull but persistent. His eyes land on the jar of honey. He remembers something, a passing lesson from his childhood. Honey, a natural antiseptic. He unscrews the lid, the scent flooding the room. It smells divine, rich and thick, like liquid gold. He dips a finger in and spreads a small amount over the wound. A faint tingle, not quite pain, not quite relief, spreads through his arm. Then, with his hunger gnawing at him, he grabs a spoon and takes a bite. The taste is overwhelming, coating his throat in warmth, an impossible sweetness, unlike anything he's ever had. Another spoonful, then another. His exhaustion fades. His body, once aching, feels lighter. He should have stopped. He should have noticed the way his veins tingled, the way his breath grew shallow. But he didn't. He only knew that, for the first time in a long time, something felt right. His vision blurs. The room tilts. His body seizes as an intense heat erupts inside him, golden energy racing through his veins like wildfire. His fingers tremble, his pulse pounds like a war drum. He collapses onto the floor, gasping for air, Shadows dance on the ceiling. Faint whispers swirl in the darkness. A voice, not his own, echoing in his mind. 1 year. The countdown has begun. His world shatters into light and darkness. And then, silence. Far beyond the stars, cracks spread across the void. Through them, a dozen glowing eyes peer down at Earth. Hulking figures draped in ethereal armor stir, monstrous creatures shifting in the abyss behind them. A war council of the Kek, ancient conquerors of mana-rich worlds, has convened. Humanity, for all its ambition, was weak. Mana, the force that shaped empires and tore civilizations asunder, had long been a whisper in their blood. But now, something had changed, and the Kek had noticed. One of the figures, a warlord with burning crimson eyes, leans forward, lips curling into a knowing smile. An anomaly has awakened. How interesting. Back in his dormitory, Sung Soo gasps awake, drenched in sweat. The lights flicker. The world feels different. His fingers twitch, and with a mere thought, golden energy flares from his palm, raw, unstable, but undeniably real. The boy who wished to be exceptional now had no choice. He was no longer just another forgotten face in the crowd. He was something else entirely, and the clock was already ticking. He stares at his trembling hands, then toward the night sky beyond his window. Somewhere, beyond the darkness, they were watching, waiting, and for the first time in his life, he was ready to fight back. Sung Soo woke up famished and disoriented, knowing that there was little time for him to contemplate any of this strange dream he just experienced. He gathered himself dressed in uniform and rushed to school, eventually making his way towards his first class on time. His entry into the class was awkward, and he was still out of sync. He attempted to sit in a seat and found himself falling out the chair clumsily. This got the notice of his classmates, who generally didn't pay him much attention, to stare and in some cases laugh at his troubled state. When class started, the sounds coming from his stomach became loud enough for all to hear, adding to his embarrassment and discomfort. The teacher, realizing that Sung Soo was struggling with hunger, excused him so he could quickly grab something from the school snack machines. Grateful, Sung Soo thanked the teacher and hurried down the hall. Upon arriving, he found a young female classmate, An Wei, being aggressively approached by A Ren, the school bully. The situation blocked his path to the snack machine. Impatiently, he searched his pockets for change or his student snack allowance card, attempting to gain their attention so they would move. A Ren, irritated by the interruption, turned his ire towards Sung Soo. Before Sung Soo could react, his stomach growled loudly. An Wei, amused, stepped aside to let him through. As Sung Soo pointed at the snack machine, a digital notification screen appeared before him, displaying an 8-day countdown. Confused, he looked around and silently mouthed, "Do you see this?" But neither of the other two seemed to notice. A Ren, already annoyed, lashed out, swinging a punch at Sung Soo. Without thinking, Sung Soo dodged, and time seemed to slow. The punch missed and crashed into the machine's glass, shattering it. A Ren howled in pain, unable to comprehend how he had missed. Meanwhile, a sharp pain shot through Sung Soo's stomach, making him double over, while An Wei watched in complete bewilderment. Sung Soo stumbled backward, falling into the narrow shadowed space between the vending machine and the wall. As he made contact with the darkness, he felt himself pulled through an unseen void, only to re-emerge from the shadow of a tree behind the school. The sudden displacement left him disoriented, his mind struggling to comprehend how he had gone from the 3rd floor to the outside grounds in less than a second. A young woman, parking her bicycle nearby, witnessed the event. She froze, eyes wide with astonishment, as she saw him materialize from the tree's shadow. Lowering herself behind her bicycle, she observed him carefully, noting his confusion as he tried to steady himself. Meanwhile, inside the school, An Wei grew flustered as students rushed into the hallway, drawn by the loud crash. A Ren, clutching his injured hand, quickly sought to shift the blame, loudly accusing Sung-soo of causing the commotion and shattering the vending machine's glass. His declaration fueled a wave of murmurs among the gathered students. Frustrated by his dishonesty, An Wei pointed at Ren's bruised hand, urging the teachers to acknowledge the evidence. However, Ren, determined to maintain his deception, walked toward the vending machine, intent on exposing Sung-soo, only to find that he was no longer there. The teachers wasted no time in reprimanding Ren, instructing him to visit the infirmary before reporting to the head of the school. As they led him away, the other students whispered among themselves, puzzled by Sung-soo's sudden disappearance. Outside, Sung-soo clutched his stomach, his hunger worsening by the second. Realizing that he needed sustenance immediately, he decided to seek out a nearby restaurant where he had worked odd jobs before. He moved quickly, keeping to the shadows to avoid being spotted from within the school. Jin-ai, the young woman who had witnessed his strange reappearance, remained crouched behind her bike. Her curiosity grew stronger as she watched him glance around anxiously before setting off with urgency. Compelled by the mystery unfolding before her, she quietly trailed behind him, careful to maintain her distance as she followed him off the campus grounds. Sung-soo navigated through the busy streets, weaving between alleys until he arrived at the back entrance of a modest restaurant. Without hesitation, he knocked on the back door. Unbeknownst to him, his knocking had become unnaturally rapid, resembling the rhythmic drumming of a woodpecker. Jin-ae, still observing from a hidden vantage point, was astounded by the speed at which he tapped the door. The rapid knocking startled the restaurant staff, and within moments, the back door flew open. A burly man, holding a butcher knife, stood at the entrance, his expression fierce. Believing someone was attempting to break in, he lunged forward, but Sung-soo instinctively sidestepped with ease. Realizing who it was, Sung-soo quickly raised his hands and shouted, "Hey Do-yun, it's me, Sung-soo." Do-yun, still gripping the knife, blinked in disbelief before exhaling sharply. "Sung-soo? What in the world?" He glanced at his own hand, his grip faltering as the realization set in. He had nearly attacked a familiar face. Do-yun eyed Sung-soo curiously before asking, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be in school right now?" Sung-soo, rubbing his stomach sheepishly, replied, "I need to eat now. I couldn't wait for lunch." Do-yun let out a hearty laugh, but quickly realized he was still holding the knife. Awkwardly lowering it, he gestured for Sung-soo to wait outside. Jin-ae, still watching from her hidden spot, scoffed internally, wondering if she had imagined the bizarre scene she had witnessed earlier. To her, it now seemed as if Sung-soo was nothing more than a foolish student skipping class just to eat. Moments later, Do-yun reappeared, holding a steaming bowl of noodles and another bowl filled with freshly peeled boiled eggs. To his surprise, Sung-soo grabbed the bowl of noodles and devoured it with unnatural speed, immediately moving on to the eggs. Jin-ae, prepared to leave, hesitated as she noticed how inhumanly fast he was consuming his meal. Her gaze locked onto the bowls, silently counting. 24 eggs, gone in moments. Do-yun slumped against the doorframe, staring at the now empty bowls in disbelief. Still unsatisfied, Sung-soo looked up and asked if there was anything else to eat. Shaking his head, Do-yun hurried off to bring 2 more dishes. Again, Sung-soo thanked him and began eating with the same ravenous intensity. Jin-ae nearly lost her balance, barely managing to stifle her reaction. As she steadied herself, Sung-soo suddenly paused his eating and glanced around. "Did you hear something?" he asked, his gaze scanning the area. Do-yun chuckled, shaking his head. "The only thing I hear is you eating. Maybe it was just an angry alley cat, mad that you're eating what I might have left out later." Jin-ae's heart pounded. She had barely made a sound, yet Sung-soo had sensed her presence. She remained frozen in place, watching as he simply shrugged and resumed eating. After finishing, he smiled sheepishly and asked Do-yun if he could get some iced tea to wash the food down. With a sigh, Do-yun gathered the empty bowls and returned with a pitcher and a cup. Before he could even hand it over, Sung-soo snatched the pitcher and downed its entire contents in one go. Do-yun stared in shock. "Your appetite is not normal for a guy your size." Sung-soo wiped his mouth and apologized, explaining that he had been starving. As he spoke, sudden clarity hit him. His eyes widened as he realized he had skipped class and could not afford to be in trouble. Panic surged through him. "I have to get back, now," he blurted, hurriedly thanking Do-yun. "I'll pay you back when I come after school." He turned sharply and sprinted around the corner, only to crash into a crouched and unsuspecting Jin-ae. The impact sent them tumbling into a shadowed section of the wall. In an instant, they were no longer in the alley. They reappeared behind the damaged vending machine, the same place Sung-soo had first disappeared from. Jin-ae gasped, eyes wide in shock as she stared at Sung-soo, who looked equally surprised. "I'm sorry!" Sung-soo exclaimed before dashing toward his classroom, leaving a stunned Jin-ae standing next to the shattered vending machine on the third floor of the school. Sung-soo closed the distance between the vending machine and the long hallway at an unusually fast pace. With ease, he stopped just before reaching the door, composed himself, and realized that students were beginning to exit the class. Weaving through the rush of students, he made his way toward the teacher. Breathing heavily but maintaining a polite demeanor, he apologized profusely, claiming that he had suffered an upset stomach. The teacher regarded him with mild concern, but seemed to understand. She expressed her relief that he was feeling better and allowed him to retrieve his book bag. Grateful that, despite all the strange occurrences, he had managed to avoid trouble with school, Sung-soo headed toward his next class. A small sense of accomplishment filled him. He had maintained his cover. However, as he approached the classroom, his relief was short-lived. Standing near the entrance were two imposing figures. Two strong, broad-shouldered students who were clearly acting as enforcers. Between them, Ren stood with his bandaged hand, his expression twisted in frustration. His eyes scanned every student entering the classroom, waiting for someone in particular. Sung-soo immediately recognized that trouble was brewing. He could not afford to miss class, but walking past the three of them was risky. Quickly scanning the hall, he noticed a familiar figure approaching. His chemistry professor, Sun-hai, walked briskly in his direction, heading toward the very same classroom. Seizing the opportunity, Sung-soo adjusted his pace and aligned himself with her approach. He called out to her in a respectful tone, asking if he could briefly go over his schoolwork after class. Sun-hai, always appreciative of hard-working students, acknowledged his request with a nod, not slowing her stride. Matching her brisk pace, Sung-soo walked alongside her as they approached the classroom. As they passed the three awaiting bullies, he stayed close to the teacher, subtly using her presence as a shield. Ren's eyes burned with anger, but with the professor present, he restrained himself. Once inside, Sung-soo exhaled, feeling momentarily safe. He quickly took his seat, formulating ways to navigate the trouble awaiting him. However, something else tugged at his senses, an awareness that someone familiar was close by. Unbeknownst to him, Jin-ae also attended this class. She sat a few rows behind him, quietly observing. The strange sensation he had earlier returned, making him glance over his shoulder. Jin-ae, startled, reacted quickly. She raised a book in front of her face, feigning deep concentration. Sung-soo hesitated for a moment, but soon turned back around, focusing on preparing for class. He had bigger concerns. Ren and his goons were still out there, and sooner or later, he would have to find a way to deal with them. Sung-soo's mind began to drift as the class carried on, his thoughts racing with images of the Kek and the strange events that had unfolded throughout the day. The teacher's voice faded into the background as he replayed the moment near the vending machine. He recalled the mysterious blue screen that had floated before him, displaying stats related to his health, agility, strength, unique skills, weapons, and current level. He wondered if he could summon it again. After all, it had seemed that only he could see it at the time. Perhaps now was the perfect moment to test it. With an instinctive hand gesture, the blue screen reappeared. He swiftly looked around, ensuring that no one else had noticed it. But unbeknownst to him, Jin Ai had seen it too. Her eyes darted around, frantically trying to confirm if anyone else had witnessed what she just did. Her reaction was noticeable enough to momentarily draw the teacher's attention. What neither Sung Soo nor Jin Ai realized was that the teacher herself had also sensed something unusual. Though she couldn't fully perceive the floating screen, there was an undeniable awareness that something intangible lingered in front of Sung Soo. Stumbling slightly in her speech, she composed herself, choosing to continue the lesson as if nothing out of the ordinary was occurring. Meanwhile, Sung Soo remained engrossed in the screen's details. His strength and agility were each listed at a mere score of 2, while his health registered at 20 points. His skills section displayed a singular ability: Shadow, Null Space. The weapons category read 0, and another subset labeled Combat Ranking also showed no recorded progress. As he navigated through the screen, a sudden gesture activated 2 countdowns. The first seemed to represent a year-long period, but the second was far more pressing. A 3-day countdown, ominously titled The Event. A quiet sense of unease settled in his chest. What could it mean? Jin A, still watching, managed to read the words, The Event, on the screen as well. A chill ran down her spine. The teacher, who had already been struggling to maintain her focus, felt her own growing concern over what these countdowns signified. As the weight of these revelations pressed upon him, Sung Soo instinctively collapsed the screen. His mind shifted back to the unsettling alien images that had been plaguing him all day. He was changing. His reflexes, speed, and strength had increased exponentially. He had never considered himself particularly athletic, yet now he felt an unprecedented clarity in his thoughts and precision in his movements. Completely absorbed in these realizations, he lost track of time. The class period neared its end, yet he remained oblivious, caught in the web of mysteries that had only just begun to unravel. As the class came to an end, Sung Soo began packing up his books, fully aware that I-Ren and his lackeys would be waiting for him outside. Or would they? He quickly considered the rush of students heading toward the cafeteria, knowing that in the chaos, he might just be able to slip away unnoticed. His eyes darted around the room, searching for the largest shadow he could use. His gaze landed on the heavy curtain by the window, far from the door, yet offering just the right amount of cover. Beyond it, the large tree outside stood as the perfect escape point. The only issue was his teacher, Sun Hai. If she saw him vanish, there would be no hiding it. However, something inside him told him that she might be someone he could confide in later. For now, escape was the priority. As the bell rang, students surged toward the exit, eager to head to lunch. Seizing the moment, Sung Soo weaved through the crowd, but instead of heading to the door, he moved swiftly toward the curtain. Sun Hai, still seated at her desk, arched an eyebrow as she observed his odd choice of direction. Meanwhile, Jin A, caught in the flow of students, caught a glimpse of his movement and instinctively knew he was up to something. Then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. Jin A found herself being pushed forward by the moving crowd, unable to see exactly what had happened. Outside the classroom, I-Ren smirked, cracking his knuckles in anticipation. He had waited all class to corner Sung Soo, expecting his 2 burly classmates to enjoy watching him get roughed up. As the crowd thinned, his eyes darted through the students, searching for his prey. Growing impatient, A-Ren stormed into the classroom, only to find nothing. His smug expression twisted into confusion as he scanned the room. The teacher stood near the window, adjusting the curtain, and gave him a firm, unimpressed look. His 2 lackeys exchanged puzzled glances, clearly sharing his confusion. Clearing her throat, Sun Hai addressed them, her tone neutral but laced with amusement. The disappointment on their faces was almost comical. From the hallway, Jin A observed the scene, her mind racing. Something instinctively stirred in both Jin A and Sun Hai, making them glance outside at the same time. Their eyes widened as they saw Sung Soo casually walking toward the dormitory, as if nothing unusual had happened. Just moments ago, he had been in the classroom, heading toward the window. Now, he was 3 floors down, strolling away without a care. Ren and his goons gritted their teeth in frustration. Somehow, Sung Soo had slipped through their fingers, but they weren't done with him yet. They exchanged determined looks, silently vowing to deal with him another time. Jin Ai, still standing outside the classroom, locked eyes with Sun Hai. For a brief moment, an unspoken understanding passed between them, before Jin Ai quickly turned away, heading off to process everything she had witnessed. Sun Hai, on the other hand, sat back in her chair, folding her arms. Fascination flickered in her expression as she pieced together the details of what had just occurred. There was far more to Sung Soo than met the eye, and she intended to find out exactly what that was.